Welcome back to another episode of Excuse My Grandma. It's Kim and my co-host,
Grandma Gail.
So today we are joined by a guest we've had on the podcast before, Lindsey Metselaar. She's the host of the We Met at Acme podcast, one of the most popular dating podcasts. So Lindsey, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be back.
So the last time we had you was 2021.
Can't even believe that, during COVID.
It feels, were we virtual then?
We were on Zoom.
Yeah.
Which was so crazy. But then we did your podcast in person.
Yes.
So I guess I've seen you after that.
Yeah.
And obviously did the camp and saw you then.
And I ran into Kim once when she was on a date. Did you know that?
Oh, no, I didn't know
we
that.
were sitting right next to each other.
Yeah, like our tables were touching.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess the date didn't last.
No, it
More
was.
than this third
It wasn't a first date.
Oh.
It might have been like a fifth date, but then just disappeared mutually.
Okay.
So,
all right.
A mutual ghost.
Yeah.
Right.
I wish it didn't turn out that way, so you could have said like, "I saw you on a
Yeah.
date with your husband," but
Okay.
you know, things.
Another time, Kim.
Next
Another
time, just have to have
Exactly.
Lindsey on all the dates. So a lot has changed. You have been married over 2 years, have a baby, Zachary.
Crazy.
So exciting. I love it.
Crazy.
I love it.
How does new motherhood feel?
It feels amazing. It's so cheesy, but it really is like the best feeling, like such a joy, like something that I've never experienced before. It's just it overcomes you with emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it changes your life.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't explain it to somebody who it doesn't have a child, and you know, and have somebody that is you're completely devoted to, and who is completely dependent on you for all their love and sustenance and whatever.
Right.
And it really is it's a beautiful thing. That's why people do it. Nobody would do it if it wasn't good, because it's a hell of a lot of pain.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
it really is a wonderful thing, and it's wonderful to have him healthy and well, and I'm sure your husband is over the moon.
Totally.
He's
Oh
got
my
his
God.
little boy
He's
first.
Obsessed.
Yeah.
And it also is just such a weird thing. Like you want to give everything to this little thing and get nothing in return.
Right.
I mean, of course you want like little smiles here and there, but you really don't expect anything in return. So it is a very unselfish thing.
But don't you feel the love given back to you, or not
Not
until
yet.
later?
Not yet.
No, I do. I mean,
you
he
do?
smiles and he
does smile.
giggles.
Probably gas.
No, now it's real. Now it's
Okay.
real.
All right.
Smiles and
Recognize
giggles.
your voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when it becomes really neat, when they know it's you, and they know it's your
Exactly.
husband, and you know, in the beginning, I don't know what they don't know anything. They're
Exactly.
just eating, sleeping, and doing their business.
He's starting to become a person.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Backtracking a little, for those who are new listeners, can you talk a little bit about We Met at Acme and how it's evolved over the years?
Yes. So We Met at Acme is a podcast that I started over 7 years ago, almost 7 years ago now, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I actually had a situation today where I finally realized how long ago 2017 was, because my laptop stopped working and I went to take it to the Apple store and I was like, I just got this. It's so weird. And they were like, it's from 2017.
No.
And I was like,
Well,
what?
that's what happens, Kim.
Yeah, it's crazy.
What, just like time?
Well, no,
completely
because
Uh-huh.
I'll tell you later, because the same thing happened to me
with your
yesterday.
computer.
No, well, my computer never works because I don't know how to work it.
Yeah.
But I was discussing someone I know was going to Panama, and I said, "Oh, I was there. It's wonderful.
Right.
I'll give you all the restaurants in the hotel."
Yeah.
And when I went home, I went to look, because I always keep the itineraries.
Right.
And all of the leaflet was from 2014. There's nothing left.
Did you think you were just there in your
Oh,
head?
I thought I was there 2 or 3 years
Right.
ago.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
That's what happens. It just became so. 10 years ago, a whole place can change. Your whole life changes,
Yeah.
as
It's
Lindsey
crazy.
is saying.
It's really wild. And so almost 7 years ago, I was very single, dumped on my 27th birthday. And I was like, I need to talk about this, because there's no way that I'm the only girl in the city who's having a, terrible time with dating. And I just had a friend over. We were talking about dating and what we've been going through. And I was like, I'm going to put this out as a podcast, whatever that is.
Right.
And didn't think anyone would listen. And then it was crazy. I got all these calls the next day, because we were naming names of people. Like I was like, oh, I just went on a date with Bob Jones. And then got a call from a guy I'd mentioned. And he was like, keep my name out of your mouth.
Well,
And
at
I
the time, podcasts were
new.
not oversaturated.
Right.
And
Totally.
you think like, oh, it goes into like, who's going to see this kind of
Who's
thing.
going to listen?
Right. And, or I guess listen, they probably didn't even have video yet. At that
Right,
point.
exactly.
And so how did it get around, do you think? Like a lot of word of mouth?
I think a lot of word of mouth. I was really lucky that an influencer early on came on the podcast. And at the time, this is 7 years ago,
Right.
there were only a handful of influencers. Now, like,
everybody's
everyone is an influencer.
including us.
Yeah.
Right. Everyone and their mother and their grandmother.
Exactly.
And she had a big following that was very engaged. And she reposted something that I shared about our episode. And we like shot up to the top charts.
Viral.
And I was not prepared for that because my content was like
Dating.
it was but it was in such bad shape. Like it was in a microphone at home. I was like smoking weed during recordings. Like it was so
Which now
amateur.
Is done a lot. Like Call Her Daddy did that.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was very amateur at the
Right.
time. And since then it's become more professional,
course.
hopefully.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. You've done very, very well.
Yes.
And Kimmy went on one of the camps you did.
Yeah.
Yes, she did.
I mean, that was a fun thing.
And
I
The
said,
first
"Are
year.
you going back to camp?" I mean, that was the funniest. And
She was
said
the
it was great.
biggest hit at camp.
Oh,
Every
Thank
guy
you.
wanted to date
Is
Kim.
that true? I don't know.
Oh my God, of course. of
nice.
course. I think maybe you had like given your number to one person.
Yes, I think so. But I don't think we ever. No, maybe we did go out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was so fun. I had the best time.
It was really fun. I think we did it again this past year. And the venue this past summer was better, but that was more of like a fun group
Fun
for
group.
sure.
Okay, interesting. When it comes to dating, have you noticed any newer trends either in the last year or obviously it's probably changed a lot in 7 years, but what do people when they come on the podcast or just experience with your friends kind of talk about being different now?
I think different now, like versus 7 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, dating apps then were still like new.
Yeah.
And now everyone's like sick of them.
Yeah, that's what we've heard from several people.
Mhm.
They were such a novelty at the
Right.
time, and the crop of people on them was great.
Right.
And that was actually when Hinge was just mutual friends.
Right.
You could only match
Right.
with someone if
Which
you had
is
a friend
very
in
good.
common.
Way
I
better.
still like that
Which
idea.
is great. I don't
Yeah.
know why that changed. I actually remember I had Justin, the CEO, on my podcast, and I was like, "Why did you change that?" And he's like, "Well, you can't really like scale it in the way
Right.
that like you can
They
now."
wanted
I'm
to
like,
make it
that's
bigger.
fair,
Right.
But that was really great.
Yeah.
And I think now people are over the dating apps. People want this like
Introduced.
IRL meeting in person, setups, things like that. They want
Mhm.
that to come back.
Well, I'm very for that.
Yes.
I mean, I'm
well,
very
you're
pro
definitely
that.
a setup, family fix-up type.
Yeah, I like
person.
it. I'm more comfortable knowing somebody at least knows somebody
Yep.
of the person. I just
Mhm.
think the world is so crazy, and you don't know who you're ending up with.
But you could
I
say
know
the
it's
same
fun.
thing. Like everyone would love a meet cute where they like meet someone on the subway or whatever. But that's just as much of a stranger, if not more so, because you're not seeing their Instagram or something. So I don't think that's that much
Well, we've
better.
discussed this Instagram. I think a lot of people put up lies on pictures and things like that. You're not 100% sure all the things they're saying are true, but whatever. I mean, there was one time you got something and then you looked up the person. It had nothing to do with what he was saying he was. He was a short little fat guy.
I have no clue. What is that? I don't remember
I'll
that.
tell you later,
Oh.
but it wasn't in actuality what he said he was.
That's really funny. But I'm with Grandma Gail on this. I do think that having like 1 degree of separation is so important, and it tends to be the best relationships, I think.
Yeah.
And like obviously it's not always possible, but even when you meet on a dating app, you could still like be connected
Right,
to them in
somehow.
some way, have
Yes.
mutual friends.
Yeah, it's almost like you didn't know this person was single, but I had no idea they went to college with someone I went to camp with. Or whatever
Exactly,
it is.
exactly.
So I think it is helpful. Like you,
And I also think as you're getting, you're talking to younger people who love to talk to Kimmy about dating. As the age gets higher, and you get older, it's a more mature form of dating.
what is?
Just dating in general. When you're 28,
Oh.
you're not dating like when you're 23.
Mhm.
So I think it's more of your careers are sort of on a path, so you're
Right.
more financially stable. There are lots of different things that go into it as you get older that aren't when you're 23 and just out of school, and you want to experience the big cities and all that's there. So I think dating changes, but it also changes with age.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's very true.
What about your friends now, like in their 30s? Do you have any single friends still?
I do. I
Okay.
have a lot of single guy friends.
Yeah.
I trust me, I would set you up with them if I thought they were worth
Yeah.
it. You wouldn't want them.
Okay, got it.
Love them though if they're listening.
Them go listen.
And I have like one or two single girlfriends, and one of them, and I spoke about this recently on my podcast, is very good at putting herself out there. Like she has nailed it, and she has had tons of prospects. They just haven't been the one.
She wants.
But she has like great opportunities because she's always going out there. She's making like a girls' brunch. She's making like a dinner party, and having someone bring a single guy, you know, and I think that's really admirable that she does that.
I feel like I do that. I tell everyone I'm single because then they'll like think of me as the first person when they're thinking of a setup, unless you think that sounds desperate
No,
anyway.
I
Okay.
think that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, no,
That's what I'm doing.
that's what you should do.
No, I think that's an important thing. But I think what happens also, you get too fussy. People, this is a conversation. I think, after a while, it all becomes too much. Dating is dating, and you have to at some point say, this is a nice guy. It's enough. No more multiple dating. See, I think also that's confusing. And I don't know if your friend has this, your girlfriend. I think at some point, if you like somebody and you go out 3 or 4 times, don't take a second date that week. See if that guy really will come forward and stick with him for a while. Because I think sometimes the multiple dating.
I haven't really tried that.
Well, I know you're not there yet. But I think if you like somebody and it's really you're dating 1 or 2 or 3 times in 1 week, say to yourself, you know what? I'm not going to accept another date next week. Let's see how this plays out.
But the problem with that is that guy might not be thinking the same way. So then
well, if
you're
he's
the
not,
one.
then forget it.
Right. But then so you're the one who's putting all your cards on the table too soon. I hear what you're saying, but I think like 2 or 3 dates, then you can focus on them.
Okay, well, that's good advice.
Yeah,
That's good
because
advice.
it's
probably what
hard.
you meant to, like not after one date. Are you
Oh
gonna put all
no,
your
not
eggs in
after
someone's
one
basket?
date.
Yeah.
I'm
Like once-
saying if you're dating three or 4 times and you think the guy is really a nice guy, sometimes if you date too many people, you get all confused.
get
I
it.
mean, everybody begins to look the same.
Yeah, it's true. I think like keep your options open,
Right.
but don't seek out other dates
Correct.
Yeah.
if you're
Right,
enjoying
that's
someone.
the way. That's the right.
But if
way of
someone
putting it.
comes to you and is like, Kim, I went to dinner last night. This guy, you have to go out with
You're
him.
gonna say
But
no.
you've
You have
been on
to.
3 dates with a good guy. I think you still accept
Right.
that.
Totally
I
agree.
agree.
So what about your friends who are mothers? Have you been leaning on them a lot? Do you guys compare notes?
Yeah, it definitely makes you closer with friends
Yeah.
who are what I call on the other side,
Okay.
because it's like it's not like you're so different, but it's like you're on the other side
are
of
different.
life. Yeah, like
You
you
are
are
different.
forever change. And
Correct.
I say that like gently because
Yeah.
I know what it was like to try really hard to be on that other side,
Yeah.
and I struggled with fertility and
Mhm.
stuff. But once you do get there, yeah, you understand each other a ton, like a lot more. I actually just today went on a walk with 2 friends of mine who just had babies, and it was really sweet. And then I also have new mom friends, which is something
Well, that's what
I never had,
happens.
yeah.
I mean, this is just and this is really what happens. Your friends that you end up being very friendly with, you'll always have an old friend here and there,
Mhm.
but are the friends of your children.
Yeah.
That's because
Wait, but
that
how
carries
does he
you
have
through.
friends when he's so young?
It's
Because
really
you
funny.
walk in the
It's
park
really
with the
funny.
strollers,
So
with the carriages.
we just started with a nanny who's wonderful, and I have to show you these pictures when we're done. She is very social, and she
has other nannies.
she's
and other
great. She
children.
knows other nannies,
Mhm.
and he's like already in a gang, Zachary. Like she sends us these pictures of him and 4 other
No
little boys his
way.
same age. They all like
So
look
cute.
like twins.
Yeah.
They're all just like little mush balls.
course.
And then I'm, of course, like, who are these who are these kids' parents? I want to know the parents.
Okay.
And so I'm like, our nanny's name is Frances. I'm like,
Mhm.
Frances, can you find out the number of, Charlie's
Uh-huh.
mom? And she's like, yeah, here, like, I'll find out. And like, so then we'll go on a walk because I now know
Right.
that they live in the area because we're all in
Right,
the same park,
exactly.
So
you
you'll
know?
go on like a friend date with
Mhm.
them.
That, or there's a mom group,
Okay.
Right, which is
like
very
on
helpful.
WhatsApp or Facebook.
But that's very important because there are issues that come up. Don't you? You know,
Like to
babies.
talk to someone
No,
about?
yeah, exactly. To
Yeah.
someone who's going through the exact same thing you're going through.
Mhm.
It's like any other kind of problem that you're
Mhm.
having in your life. When your friend is having the same problem, you can talk about it and
Unless
connect.
it's the blind leading the blind.
No, but doesn't matter. You know, you're very insecure with a child,
Mhm.
especially your first.
Mhm.
So if all of a sudden the baby doesn't want to take the food, why doesn't he want to
Mhm.
take food?
Right.
So you ask your friend, and do you have any issues? And sometimes they have a suggestion that really works. So I think you're doing the right thing. It's a great idea.
Thank you.
Do you go to the park where we went right near your house, Kim? That's my favorite little park.
Madison Square?
Madison Square
Yeah.
Park?
Yeah, that's
That's the cutest
where he
park in
hangs
the
out.
whole world.
Yeah.
We were there last week for
And you could do a
shoot.
loop
So
like
cute.
15 times.
Yeah,
probably, 'cause
exactly.
It's tiny.
It's amazing.
No,
Yeah.
it's a nice little park. Though.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then do you lean on your mom a lot too for questions and stuff? I know she was on our
You
podcast
know,
with
it's
you.
hard because my mom, like, she did it so long ago. Like, you
Right.
don't remember the same way
Right.
that you remember. I mean, she's amazing.
Mhm.
And she did such a great job with us, but she's so far removed from it now. You don't remember like the weeds of it
Right.
when you had
The
a
nitty-gritty.
newborn.
Okay, right.
You remember like bigger concept things, but you
Mm-hmm.
don't remember, oh, if he didn't take this bottle, why isn't he taking this
Mhm.
bottle? Like,
Exactly.
she doesn't remember.
Right.
She
Okay,
doesn't know.
right.
And so for those kind of things, I have an older sister who has
Oh.
2 kids.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
she's more like newly a mom.
Mhm.
Or again, like the mom group, or
Yeah.
my sister-in-law who's a pediatrician, which is very
Oh, well,
helpful.
that's very
so
helpful.
helpful. And I
That's-
feel like with family, they're gonna maybe be like more not sugarcoat things maybe as much, or like
Mhm.
not be as scared to involve themselves. I mean, I don't know. Has it ever
Everybody, I think everybody involves themselves with a baby.
Yeah, it's
No,
true.
there's no holding back, Kim.
been? Have you been like, stop? It's like my thing to make decisions about ever.
No, I've been very lucky in that both my in-laws and my parents are very much like, you are the mom, like you know what you're
Okay.
doing. Like, they haven't been like, I think you should be feeding him more, or
Really?
like,
Right.
I think you should be dressing him in this, which I'm very grateful for,
Right.
because I imagine those thoughts go through their head 100% of the
course, but they're
time.
being
Has to.
smart.
Mhm.
They're
I
being
mean, there's
smart.
absolutely no way in hell that you and mom are not going to say, this is what you should be doing and this is what they should be wearing.
Well,
and
I
like-
have to tell you, when your mom had you, I took over.
Yeah, there was no way you were not involved.
I was every day pushing that carriage with your mother.
Where was she?
Sometimes I pushed her off. I didn't want her touching the carriage.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure she'd get over the curb properly.
That's
You know,
really funny.
but it depend. It was a mutual desire. If
Yeah.
you both, and we also lived right around the corner.
Mhm.
So I think what the difference was, my mom was still alive, my daughter, and my husband and I, we lived on the same block on 3 corners.
Yeah, that's
So we would
amazing.
go out, we'd see each other's windows,
Mhm.
and we'd know when they were going, we was sort of signal to each other. We'd all go downstairs and walk the baby. You know, it's her first grandchild.
Right.
Everybody's so excited. But the second one, nobody was walking anybody.
Oh, that's so
But
funny.
The truth is, parents can only be involved in things that they enjoy doing. They're not going to be involved in, well, maybe you should change the diaper.
The grandparents. you
The
mean?
grandparents.
Yeah.
I think that's a parent's thing. And, to buy an outfit that they like, and then if you don't like it, you
fun
put it
stuff.
away. The fun stuff.
Yeah.
Nobody, when the crying stops, my slogan was, goodbye, I'm going home.
Yeah. I can't imagine like I feel like I was grateful to essentially have 2 moms. I'm
Right.
sure she felt the same, being grateful of like help.
Yeah.
'Cause-
And she
Not
also
everyone
had a
has that.
nanny, and she had,
right.
she was we were all very fortunate. People who are not as fortunate definitely have to rely on their
Mhm.
neighbors, on their in-laws, their parents to help
Mhm.
them. It's a lot of work.
Mhm.
A baby is a lot of work. It's more-
Totally.
it's not 9 to 5.
Right.
And actually, in Europe and like just other countries in general, the grandparents play a much
Mm-mm.
bigger role
Correct.
with
Interesting.
taking care of your
Mhm.
baby, whereas in America, it's much less. And I posted something recently, I forgot what it was. And someone commented on it, like, why aren't your
Yeah.
parents just taking care of him?
Right.
And I'm like, not everyone's parents are available all the
Right.
time
Yeah.
or are, like equipped or,
Right.
Or
want to,
emotional.
I wonder
or
if it's because
are
in
there
Europe
for you.
people live together more.
Well, I think they stay in the same communities more. They don't go from New York to California as
Right.
readily like we do. You know, we're all over the place,
Mhm.
and I think it's also a cultural. It's very cultural.
Mhm.
The Europeans are very hands on with their, except for the English. The English throw them out immediately.
Yeah,
and have,
exactly.
they're not interested. They go right to boarding school,
Right.
right from the crib. But you know what? We're very fortunate to live, I think, in a city like we have that has so many things that are available for young mothers who
Mhm.
can't. You know, there are daycare centers, there are play groups for women who work
Mhm.
full time so they
Right.
can drop their children off. All these things are so important and become a factor of how to make your life, you know, tolerable and able to manage. Plus, you have to go home, put a little makeup on, and be ready for your husband. And if he's not home all day long, which, you know, and you're not home all day long,
Yeah.
a woman is very different. This is something anybody can say it's a modern time. It's a modern time to a point. And then you still have to be a wife and you still have to build up a guy's ego.
Yeah, I
I
was
don't
gonna
care.
say I was
So many
listening
roles.
to like
Mhm.
your solo episode and something you said of like no matter what, the mom is always gonna be like super involved in the baby's life because
Mhm.
like they literally need them to eat. And I'm curious how involved Steven has been or if he's ever taken over certain roles where he's more involved than you are.
He is so involved. My sister calls him Mr. Mom.
That's great.
He is like, I don't know if it's a millennial thing
Yeah.
or what it is, or if just, you know, him, but he is like the most involved dad. And, you know, he's at his office every day, all day.
Right.
But whenever he's home, he is like trying to do everything. And it sounds so cheesy and like, you know, some people
think
are
it's
probably rolling
beautiful.
their eyes, but we fight over who gets to like do the morning. Whereas other people are like,
You do it.
no,
You do
you
it.
do it. I'm
do
going
it."
back to sleep.
Yeah. That's so cute.
And it's really great. I mean, the only downside to it is that because he's so involved, he has opinions. And,
Well, he
you
has
know,
to have an opinion.
Right. But it's
Totally.
not all your call.
but exactly.
Yeah.
But as a mom, like
Right.
you know that it's a mother's instinct.
Right.
You don't want someone
Right.
questioning you.
Well,
like,
we had a rule. You see,
Mhm.
I had a rule in our house, but our house was very male dominated, except that I ran everything. He could do the big things. He could settle Vietnam and all the issues that came up in China, and I would do everything that had to be involved in the house.
I know you
So,
like love
but
that
that-
metaphor, but I don't know if it works.
It doesn't work today because the men are much more involved. But I think I do think that it's wonderful that the men want to be involved.
Right,
I
right,
really
right.
do. I think where it's fun is on a weekend where instead of a guy running out and going to play tennis
Right,
or
right,
running
right.
around the Central Park for 4 hours, he wants to be involved with his family. I think it's a wonderful change
I feel
in
like
men's attitudes.
It is attitude, I was going to say, because not obviously there's the situation of now there's like two income households
Right.
or sometimes like the woman is the one working in a heterosexual relationship. But I think a lot of it also is just like society where some men were like, okay, I'm going to be more involved. And then it kind of looks bad if you're the dad who's not involved at all. And they probably,
I don't know.
like, I don't know when they changed their
You know, I
mind.
think it's like, I don't even want to say different cultures, but it's like different circles. Like, for
Mhm.
example, on Long Island, where my sister lives, all of the guys like pride themselves on like not being so
It's
involved.
interesting.
And then like in my group of friends,
York.
like the guys are more involved. But then there's other groups within the city that I know where like the guys are like, you know, I didn't even meet my kid till she
so
was
they could
like
go play golf together.
exactly. So I think it's more like who you hang out with and
Right.
associate with and what their like interest level
Mhm.
is in being like an involved parent or not. And I think it's a
And
mixed
that's how
bag.
you're going to find your friends.
Exactly.
Because some will not. And that's
Mhm.
fine too. Everybody has a different level. And the ones that are, those are the guys you're going to hang around with because it's based around a family. The ones who want to hang around and go play tennis on the weekend and will send their kids to their parents or to somebody else, to a surrogate, then those aren't the ones you're going to hang out with.
You think you can't be friends with other parents who have different parenting styles?
You tend not to. Not styles. You tend not to. It has to have similar likes and dislikes in what you want to do because if they don't want to hang out with their kids, why would you hang out with them if you've got a baby? I mean, they don't want to be involved in that. It's not that you don't like them. It's that the commonality of interests are not there, And if somebody wants to be with their children and walk in the park on a weekend, you want to go with another family that has similar lives.
Okay, yeah.
I think.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think you can still be friends with your friends who have different parenting styles, but you wouldn't hang out with your kids with them.
Right. Exactly. Dinner is the moment.
You mean see them separately, like for
at night,
right?
You see them at
Yeah,
night.
but like you're not going to go on vacation with those people because like they might want to leave their kids at home, which like is no judgment. That sounds great if they have someone to watch the kids. Exactly.
Yeah. How have you been balancing the podcast and everything with being a mom?
I think it got a lot easier when our nanny started, and she's been amazing. Before that, it was really difficult because I didn't take a maternity leave. You guys are in this creative industry where if you don't do anything, the money doesn't come in.
Right.
No one's paying you to
to stay home.
Breastfeed your baby. And so I almost immediately was like back, on the microphone and doing things on social media. And that was really hard, but I don't know. I mean, you just get through it. You have this adrenaline in the first, few weeks, first few months that you don't even know where it comes from because you've got no sleep. You're like running on 4 hours if you're lucky. And somehow you are more productive than you've ever been in your life. And it makes no sense, but it's just what happens. It's like what happens to women so that we can get through that.
Right.
And now it feels a little bit more balanced. We are leaving on Wednesday. So I'm like, this week is particularly not balanced, but it has been easier to do the schedule.
Yeah, like you're home a lot too, the nature of our job. I mean, besides if you're going to a studio, I guess, to record, but that's probably makes things easier too.
I think it's actually easier.
Of course, like if you work from home and have more of a creative like career where you can be flexible with your schedule,
with your timing.
Totally.
Even if you are busier, like you can be.
It's true. Like if I was really missing Zachary and like I, had an hour in the day, I could go see him, and that's really special.
And that's great.
Yeah. Right.
It's great.
But I guess like Stephen doesn't have that if he's in an office.
No, he doesn't really.
Right.
No, but that's all right. He'll catch up on the weekend.
Exactly.
When he comes home.
Exactly.
Put him in the bed for a minute.
Quickly, I know you've spoke a lot about like your birth story and having an emergency C-section and IVF and stuff. Is there anything, like a quick piece of advice you would give to people who are kind of going through those challenges around the birth process?
Yeah. I would say for the fertility stuff, like always get a second opinion. It's so important with everything in life medically. You need to get more than one opinion. Yeah. I think so many people are stubborn, like, oh, I've been seeing this doctor forever. They know me, this, that. Right. Like, you don't know. With fertility especially, like people see things differently. People run tests that you've never had run before and find things. So definitely get another opinion. And I think for the labor and delivery, like, don't be married to a birth plan because you just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And the worst thing is that you can go in and be like, no, this wasn't part of my plan, and like risk your baby's life because it wasn't part of your plan. Your plan is to have a baby.
Yes. A healthy baby.
A baby who, comes out and has a heartbeat, and whatever it takes to get there is what you will do. So take your like woo-woo plan of like, oh, I'm not going to get an epidural and I'm going to do this, and throw it out the window.
I have to tell you, I had a baby, the first baby with your mom.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm having natural childbirth. I got one pain. I said, give me the shot.
Yeah. Of course.
Give me the shot right now.
Yeah.
Doctor said, don't you want to wait a minute? I said, not 1 minute.
Exactly.
So funny. Was there anything else like unexpected that you remember?
No, I could have had babies in the field, but that was just me. But I didn't like the labor part. I must say it was not great. I wanted to kill Poppy during that. I said, what am I doing?
Like
but
why?
Then you
because,
forget.
Why
but you
him,
forget.
though? Like were you just resentful?
Well, he
like,
was the one who did it.
Yeah, why'd you do it?
I mean, I couldn't do it alone. I didn't do it alone.
I know. I can imagine throughout the whole process, like having times where you're definitely pissed at your partner.
But he wasn't in those days the men didn't come in.
Right.
Now the men come into the
But you were by
actual
yourself
room.
or you were with your mom?
wasn't with anybody. It was with the nurse and the doctor.
Men
they
were
didn't allow.
not-
They were not allowed in those days.
Even
you're talking about the
for-
prehistoric days.
Even for our parents, Kim, the men would like go home, like they'd come visit the hospital, but
Right.
they weren't a staple in the hospital.
Really?
Right.
And it was really funny because when we were there, my mother-in-law was like, "Oh, like Steven, you should go home and shower." And I was
Come
like,
back.
"Absolutely fucking not."
We're in this together.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere, sweetie.
That's the truth.
You need the emotional support, and also like physically, it is scary to be in an operating room or whatever by yourself.
It's not scary.
I'm
The
scared.
whole thing is you're scared because you're not doing it.
Yeah.
But the truth is, it's not scary. It's beautiful. But
Mhm.
every woman goes through it. It's not pleasant, but they all know. And nobody, and I don't know about you, Lindsay, nobody remembers it. You go through it. It's lousy. It's terrible when it's
Mhm.
happening. But absolutely, 2 years or a year later, okay, let's do another one. It's
Mhm.
not. It's really part of life, and that particular thing, and it could be one of the most uncomfortable things you're going to go through. You don't remember.
Mhm.
If somebody said, "Well, how do you remember it?" I bet you in 6 months you'll say no.
Well, mine was
Well, you had a
so
C-section.
memorable.
You
Yeah,
had a
yeah. I
C-section.
don't know if I'd ever forget that,
Oh.
but even if I had like a regular normal birth,
Right.
I think that I would. It doesn't matter how bad it was. I would remember it, but I would remember it fondly.
Yeah.
Because
Mhm.
like that's how I got my baby.
Exactly.
Right.
That's exactly right. It's
Mhm.
it's the end result. It's
That's
beautiful.
cute.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that your mom or grandma kind of like any values they taught you that you're excited to pass along to Zachary?
The man should love the woman more.
Yep.
You're whispering that to him. He's like,
But I've
"What are
always
you
said
saying?"
that.
Yeah, no, jokes aside, I mean, I love the idea that I'm going to get to raise a boy because men are, they need some
They're
raising.
stupid. They're
Yeah,
stupid.
They
exactly.
need major help.
And I can't wait to, make him this gentleman who treats women how they should be treated.
Right.
Treats all people. I mean, I don't know that
Yeah.
hell necessarily
Well,
be
your
into
husband
women.
does, and so will he.
Right.
Yeah.
People do what they see at home.
Mhm.
They imitate. And I'm sure your husband sounds wonderful, and he will be exactly the same way.
Yeah, it's so
and
true.
you'll help him along.
Has your content changed at all? Like obviously you're now talking more about motherhood and stuff, but do you think like your followers are resonating with different things or you're posting different things?
It's really hard because I would say it's split totally down the middle with
Mhm.
like people who are single and dating still, and then people who are in the same boat as me, married
Right.
with kids. So I'm
Mhm.
really trying to like
Do both.
do both, but it's tough. I would say it's like 50-50 still with
Yeah.
my content.
Yeah. Anything upcoming and exciting?
We have this really exciting event. I don't know when this is airing, but it's June 18th, the event. And it's like a women's entrepreneurship panel.
Oh, cool.
And it's going to be really fun.
Oh, that sounds fabulous.
Yeah.
Very fun.
Yeah,
In
you guys should
Manhattan.
come in Manhattan.
Okay.
Also wanted to ask your favorite date night activity now that you are parents and get
Ooh.
the time away.
Ooh, like for us too?
Yeah.
No baby.
Baby.
Honestly, I
She
think
hasn't
You've had
one.
that.
She hasn't had one.
no, I have. We're not like that exciting. Like it's not like we're like going to these like fun sports games. It's
Mhm.
just like
Right.
we're going out to
For dinner.
sushi or like dinner,
Does
just
it
the two
feel
of
like
us.
it's renewed in any way now that you're parents? or
If I'm
any
being
different?
honest, like we're just kind of talking about our baby
Right.
right now still. But we are going to a wedding in Italy this weekend.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
fun.
And it's going to be the first time that like we're so away that like it would be ridiculous if we were still talking about
Right.
our son. I mean, we
Yeah.
still probably will, but
Right.
we're going to be with friends and, that's going to
wonderful.
feel
That's going to
very
be a very big emotional moment.
I'm
telling you.
I believe
So
you
be
because
careful.
I went to a
Don't-
bat mitzvah and I was emotional.
Right.
So.
So, are you leaving the baby with your parents? And
With
the nan-
our nanny and then my in-laws.
Yeah. Well, we used to, but the first time it's a little tricky. But then once you do
You'll
it,
kill
it'll be
it.
fine.
It'll be great.
No, it'll be great. It'll be great. It should be a wonderful wedding. That's nice. I'd like to
Yeah.
go
I
with you.
know.
I mean, we're literally only going for 3 days. It's so
Oh,
quick.
That's a
I
big trip
know.
for 3 days.
I know, but like, what can you do now
Yeah.
that you have a baby? I mean,
Yeah.
it's harder. It's
No,
harder.
it is hard.
So,
It is hard.
so
And-
travel,
Okay.
people.
Right.
Travel
Travel
first.
while you
Travel.
can.
Exactly. Do everything.
Uh-huh.
Because once the baby comes, it's a different lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I know we've probably played this when you came on, but we're going to end with Grandma Gail's old-fashioned dating quiz. So it's just some hypotheticals, and then we'll see if you're more traditional or more modern with dating. Your opinions might have changed, actually.
Yeah,
We'll see.
they might have.
Would you rather receive a call or a text from your partner if it's just to say hi?
A text.
Sleep with someone on the first date, would you do it?
Never.
Dating apps or setups?
Setups.
Would you move in together before getting engaged or wait till you're engaged?
Before.
Who should pay for the date? Should it be one person in the relationship or should you guys split, alternate?
Always the man.
Okay, a little bit more traditional, but
very
like split.
much this. But
Those
everyone
are my
is,
answers,
You know,
too.
it's very interesting. I think it's everyone's answers now. They're becoming a little bit more conservative. The young people that we have on,
Yeah.
and it's fascinating to see the difference. We used to see much more one way or the other. Now we don't.
Mhm.
I think we might have to get new questions.
Yeah, maybe I'll make more specific ones.
Okay.
I'll think about it. Lindsey, thank you for joining us.
Thank you guys for
You're
having
such
Stuck
a
with
me.
Zach.
pro.
We can't wait to see the pictures. That
Oh
we're
my
gonna
God,
do
I
on
have to
our
show
own
you.
after this.
I have to show you his gang.
Yes, and tell everyone where they can follow you.
You can follow me, We Met at Acme, and listen wherever you listen to podcasts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye,
Lindsey.
everyone.